So I'm bringing up old arguments, but I thought it would be fun to explore how much of a fighting game ZZZ actually is like. And is there a realistic way to actually do this? There actually is, right? There is a place called the Fighting Game Glossary. Holds all the fighting game terminology that is spanned across the entire fighting game community. It holds general knowledge as well as game specific terminology. And I wanted to see how many of those fighting game traits and terms we can actually find that relate to ZZZ. Because there actually are some, quite a bit in fact, that I know without even reading. But this is going to be me reading it for the first time, probably just as much as you. So please do bear with me on accounting for some of this stuff. But I think we should just go ahead and jump right into it. It will be kind of a scoring system. For the most part, we're going to be checking out general game knowledge. If we come across a general term and we find that it relates to the game, that's a simple 1 point. If it's not there, obviously a 0. If it's a game specific term, we will give it a 0.25, a quarter of a point per every game that it relates to. So if this term has 3 games, it gets 0.75. If it has 1, it gets plus 0.25. And if it has 4 games, it gets a whole extra point. This will help make up the difference for a lot of those terms that we're going to end up glossing over because they're so game specific. There's 0 ways you can find it into this game. With that said, we just get into it. Today we will just be going over the A's. So we will just be covering the A's for today, and we will see how many of them are actually here. Abare. Attacking while you are at negative frame advantage. Pronounced Abare. At least by English speakers. Normally attacking while your opponent is in plus is a bad idea, since if they press their fastest attack, you're going to win. But sometimes your opponent doesn't press their fastest attack. Maybe they want to stretch their advantage a little too far, or say take extra time, walk up and throw. If you are Barre in these situations, you'll probably land some hits. Just be careful though, there's always the risk your opponent will just attack quickly and counter hit you. Barre is very closely tied to the concepts of turns and was first brought over as a loan word from Virtual Fighter. Virtual Fighter has a concept called morale, which is kind of the opposite of Barre, which is just attacking during advantage frames, positive advantage frames. So they actually have a visual example here. So pay attention to Ryu and what he's able to do for the first half of this. He's able to block because he's at advantage when he does this kick. He's able to strike, and since she was striking too, because she's doing that same strike that he just blocked, his strike wins out. He's able to apply pressure. If she's trying to strike during that, she can't. She's stuck in block stun. But if he does too risky of a move, he gets hit. If he does too risky of a move on that jump kick too, even though you saw he used to be at advantage, he gets hit here for going for a big overhead. And because he did a strike while she was still on the ground, therefore causing a big disadvantage stage when he should have the turn to apply pressure, she got up and she striked him and was able to steal the turn again. So it's all about doing a risky move when you have advantage, and it puts you in a more of a disadvantaged state, and your opponent takes advantage of that. A lot of advantages. That's an Abare. The advantage taking, even though you're technically in a vulnerable position. And yes, this exists. This exists in ZZZ in a small form, right? In a small form, really. Basically, you can be, or your opponent can be in a spot in which you have the advantage on your opponent, but you do a move that's so long taking, has so much wind up, that normally if you did a faster move or your best option, your ultimate or something, you would have locked the opponent down, but instead they got a strike and they were able to get out of it, and that big wind up fucked up your whole combo. Those situations exist. So definitely exists. Abare has a place. Absolute Guard, a game mechanic that forces your character to block all incoming attacks while you are trapped. And block stun, okay now, right? This does not exist unless we're talking about. Actually, no. This does not exist unless you would think about parries, right? There are situations where you hit a parry and you're stuck within that parry animation as long as the boss is attacking. It kind of feels like an absolute guard, right? Because you cannot get out of it, but it's not the same. So, active. The period of time that a movement has a hitbox, yes. Things have hitboxes, things have active frames. They exist. I like that a lot of these are going to be fast, and that's one outside. Stars are like favorites. All right, active flow. This is a game-specific trait. Once per round state, you can enter in Blaze Blue if you attack with your character often enough, which provides a few nice passive benefits. When you're done enough offensive actions, your next hit announces a active flow. Your side of the health bar will glow purple for around 14 seconds. You'll get a small damage boost. Your burst gauge will regenerate faster. Obviously, no. We can stop there. There is no active flow state. Right? Maybe you can find something that's similar, but in an active flow, it does not exist. Active tag. This one's interesting. Alright, tagging into one of your teammates in a team game, but instead of having to perform the tag while your point character is in neutral, you instead can tag at any time, including while your point is doing other actions. In some other games, you can even call this yes, we have active tag. Yes, it exists. Active tag exists. There are 2 games tied to this, so that gets a 1.5. So, if you want to see a video, I mean, it's straightforward, guys. It's pretty straightforward. They tag, the character's able to do an action. Yeah. It's in ZZZ. Advanced Strike. I will say, it's batting pretty strong right now. ZZZ is batting pretty strong right now. A technique introduced in King of Fighters that is designed primarily to counter throws and lead to a combo. By inputting blah blah blah, you'll perform a relatively slow attack with a green glow. It costs half a bar of super meter, although this cost is refunded if the attack hits. Okay. If the attack hits, your opponent's throw attempt will be crumpled. Alright, Advanced Strike definitely does not exist, but I want to see the video. It's a throw crushing strike. Okay. Yeah, no. Anyways, advantage. Usually refers to frame advantage. Yes, it exists. We're going. It's better and really strong. Aerial attack. Yes, it exists. And you're like, what? Oh, yeah. You fools. Yes. Aerial attacks exist, right? I'm sorry, there's no jump button, but yes, aerial attacks exist. This game registers the idea of aerials. I will tell you right now, if there's a short hop in this terminology dictionary, that exists in this game too. So we're definitely going to be getting short hop. Oh, this is Super Smash Bros. So it technically gets a 1.25. Yeah. But yeah, so aerial attacks, right? You guys all know the concepts of aerial attacks. How do they exist in ZZZ? Aerial is like a state, right? Just like any game, you can be airborne, and then when you're airborne and you have an attack that's an airborne attack and it has like special airborne properties, it's an aerial attack, right? Those exist in ZZZ. Several characters have aerial attacks. I mean, this is existence 1.0. You have Avalanche, a very clear aerial. When she goes up into the air, you dodge everything. Yes, pretty much every single aerial. I don't think Yi Schwan's actually counts as an aerial, even though it is a hover state in waves. But yeah, almost every single aerial strike is invulnerable. Right, you basically don't get hit by anything. Those are your safest times. You will jump over strikes. You will fly over strikes. It will always consider you evading a strike by taking to the air, right? So when you're airborne, those are your safest times. And that's why Vivian is essentially safe all the time, including in her hover state. And within that concept, you also have aerial strikes. Piper has tons of aerial strikes. Attacks that are airborne strikes come with full vulnerability. Even the enemies have aerial strikes, and then some enemies have fake aerial strikes. Bringer is just a whole lot of it looks like he's in the air, but he never is. You are able to attack him. True aerial people, such as when it comes to short hops, like the big miasma blood monster, his little short hop counts as an aerial strike, and he gets full invulnerability. I hate that short hop. The number of ultimates he dodged, the number of strikes he dodged, the fact that even Lucy's thing that drops right on his head, drops right on his head, but yet somehow a short hop up evaded the strike, and I get no quick assist anymore. Aerials exist in ZZZ. They are all invulnerable. They are all super safe universally for the enemy as well as us. So if a unit has an aerial, how many of them have aerials? All I really know is Piper, Evelyn, Vivian, and I think that's it, right? As far as I know, there might be more, right? Oh, I mean, Lighter gets aerials, but that's during his EA. All right, we're moving on. People have aerial attacks. Aerial control. Here you go. Here you go. Now you guys can get all picky. Aerial control. The ability to change your character's trajectory after being hit into the air. And Soul Calibur is the specific Soul Calibur term. And then Smash Bros. Has directional influence, which is down there. We are going to be going off of the fighting game dictionary, right? Realistically, is there some aerial control? Yes, Vivian, right? Vivian can move around while she's in the air to some degree, but doesn't function any way similar to the dictionary that got this terminology put into the fighting game glossary. So, since the two ideas of aerial control differ, there is no aerial control. You can fight me on that. I choose to believe as such. All right. Air combo. The act of comboing an airborne opponent while you are also in the air. Air combos are staples of most anime fighting games and versus series. Air combos, do they exist? I mean, we all know the idea of air combo, but do they exist in ZZZ? Nah. You can get your opponent airborne, and then you can also be airborne. You can't really do many combos in the air, though, right? Multiple strike. For the most part, Vivian's coming crashing down. Evelyn only has an aerial strike for a little bit. Piper has multiple aerial strikes, but they're all different and in different streams, so they only happen once. They're generally just a moment, you can't like stack them all on top of each other. Since there are no characters that can perform in such a way, even though there are ways to get your enemy airborne as well as yourself, there is no air combo. Right? Aerial attacks exist. No air combos. Oh, we ain't batting too strong anymore. That's 4 strikes. Alright, air dash. Using a dash while in air. Is there an air dash? I mean, if you count the hovering freaking mechs, but no. I don't think there's a single character that can dash while in air. Even Yishuan, I don't think her dash really affects her hover, right? I think she ends up hitting the floor when she does it. So I'm gonna opt no, personally. Not batting so strong anymore, but this is why I said we're gonna have to make up the difference. Air dodge. These air ones, bro. So, air dodge. A mechanic that lets you turn yourself invincible in the air, dodging attacks. Yes, we have it. Thank you very much. Here I thought we were gonna lose a point. Anyways, air normals. A normal that can only be used while you're airborne. Basically, it's a jumping attack. There are some rather complicated terms in this glossary, but this one isn't one of them. So, aerial attack. Is this in any way different than an aerial attack? No, not at all. Right? It seems like they are one and the same. Sorry, that's an extra point. Air okay. Okay, so this one I know pretty much simple. There are some attacks, especially when it comes to special moves, such as like fireballs, right? Where you can do it on the ground. But it is also an air okay attack. If you perform this attack well in the air, you will also get it. Maybe a unique version of it, but you will also get it. Air okay attacks. In the game, no. Alright, because there are no attacks that you can like use in the air and get a special. Alright, fine, fucking ally. Vivian, Vivian technically, you know, you can just come crash down, but you can also press her EX while in the air. They could have locked it. Right? It could have been that you could not press EX in the air, and it was not an air okay attack, but it is an air okay attack. She's the only one, right? She's the only one. Everybody has basic aerial attacks, so there is no way of air okaying them, except Vivian. Her EX is air okayable. Even though it's only one character and she's very new, it makes the cut. Makes the cut. Alright. Air reset. Hitting someone out of the air in such a way that you land before them and then can mix them up. And this is called a reset, blah blah blah. Then they don't exist. Could you get like super specific where you hit someone into the air and you both came down and no. This just not. Air tech. Recovering from being hit in the air. This one's also pretty simple. Teching in the air. There is hit tech, right? Recovering from being hit into air and turns into neutral. I'ma say no. There is ways to tech, like tech roll, like tech out of getting hit, right? Even like outside of just switching, which is the normal way to like act out of getting hit. But are there ways to tech, especially in Hollow Zero? Yes, there's ways to tech. You can dodge and then you'll attack out of it. It's not specifically an air tech though, and there are not moves that knock you into the air, so you won't be air teching. Air throw. Air throw. Ooh, these airs, bro. These airs are huge. Airs to airs, attacking an airborne opponent while you are also in the air. If you try to intercept an airborne opponent while staying on the ground, that's just called an anti-air. So if you attack an opponent, then also enter the air while they're in the air. If they're already in the air and then you're Evelyning them and then you go into the air, that is an air to air. Yeah, they exist. They exist. If you're juggling somebody because you knock them into the air with like Lycon's up kick and then you go into the air and then you strike them in the air and then you come back down with Evelyn, that's an air to air. It's not a long one, but it exists. Airborne, obviously the state exists. This is what I was describing earlier, the state of being airborne, and if it comes with unique properties, that's how you can decide whether aerials exist. And yes, airborne very much exists. Characters who have airborne, obviously. Vivian, like I said, Evelyn, Piper, there's probably a few others. All-arounders, characters who can do a little of everything. This includes a little bit of zoning, a little bit of rush down, a little bit of solid damage and anti-airs and reasonable defense with good invincible moves. Okay, like your Shotos, like it clearly says there. Your all-arounders, let's be real, of course they exist. Her name's Miyabi. Anyways, the alpha counter. Oh, this is, or no, they've all been general. I haven't been crazy. Okay, I've been looking. Alpha counter. A technique in Street Fighter, obviously you counter them. This is not going to be that. Right? Depending on the game, including wacky ways, it lets you attack while blocking. Interesting. But yeah, it lets you attack while blocking. The input differs depending on the game, including a wacky blah 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 input. Your character will spend some of its super meter and perform a predetermined attack out of block stun, usually knocking your opponent down and creating some space. The notion of doing a get off me move while blocking has appeared in tons of different fighting games since Alpha Killer Instinct and has shadow counters, Street Fighter 5 and V reversals. Let's actually see it, right? I'm actually unsure. So you block, you counter, and then you have the affinity to strike. It's a parry. The alpha counter is the strike that's after the parry, right? I think so. Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, alpha counters exist. She's kind of has an alpha counter. It's not like it doesn't specifically say there's a short frame window, right? And because it doesn't specifically say there's a short frame window, she has a block parry that functions very similar to this, actually identical to this. You block, you attack outside of it, you have advantage almost entirely. Even does a little chain sound effect. So, I'm gonna say yes. Alpha Counter actually made it. What a fucking surprise. Ambiguous. Okay, I can explain this easily. Ambiguous cross up is like, hey, you jump into the air. Okay. A good ambiguous attack is extremely difficult to block because the defender cannot visually determine on which side the attack will fall and hit. Even the attacker may not even know whether the attack will be a cross up or not. So if you jump and your opponent's blocking and you're landing right on top of their head and you do an attack, you and your opponent are both unsure on which side they are going to fall. And since blocking is probably directional in this game, it becomes an ambiguous cross up. If you land behind them and they're blocking in the wrong direction, they get hit. If you land in front of them and they're blocking in the wrong direction, they get hit. So let's take a look. Ambiguous cross-ups. I mean, why do we need to take a look? They do not exist. I just wanted to see an ambiguous cross-up. All right, American Reset. When somebody accidentally drops a combo but follows up with an attack that hits the opponent anyway because they simply. So this is similar. This relates to Abare, right? Where it's different because you're not in the block, you're not in the negative position, but this is when you are in the advantage position. You fuck up. So now you like lost your advantage, but you do that disadvantage move, that big wind up that might get you hit by an Abare, but it doesn't get you hit by an Abare. Instead, you hit your opponent and you continue the combo anyways. So because they were simply not blocking or indeed are not paying attention at the screen at all, it's kind of like a reset, but with no underlying mix up behind it. Does this exist where you can be in a combo, drop the combo? Generally, you would be able to keep them in, but since you dropped it, they have an ability to react. Are there situations in which your opponent fucked up, the enemy AI fucked up, and you continued the combo anyway? I would say yes, sometimes, but not really, right? Most of the times, if you pick back up the combo, it would be very specific. It exists because I think sometimes the AI could opt to do something even though it was scheduled to do like miasma, right? If it's scheduled to do miasma, but you're keeping it locked down and you open up a frame window, generally most times if you open up that frame window, that thing's miasmaing out of there. Like Bringer's going to go do his top hand out of there. Most times that happens, and if you slip up, they always get out. I feel like there's probably once or twice that you can probably catch the AI slipping because it re-queued up an old move instead of going straight into the invulnerable thing, and then you continue to combo. Anchor. We're getting down there. Your final character in your teams. Do anchors exist? I mean, for the most part, kind of, they can, but they don't always exist. Right? But you could definitely have an anchor. There could be times when you run that hollow zero fade and you're running your DPS character and your sub DPS character, but both of them fall out, so you have to rely on your fucking support as an anchor to finish out the fight, right? It exists, you know? Is it used? No. Does the concept exist? Yes. Because I've definitely done it, but I wouldn't say it's an often case that somebody's used as an anchor to finish off the fight. All right, Animality. This yeast run going and turning into a bird count? Probably not. Anyways, Animalities. We're not gonna give it the point. Anime game. A particular style of fighting game, all tempo is frantic, highly aerial-based combat, wild character designs, and obviously they're more popular. It's an anime game terminology. They're calling it, I'm sorry guys, it's a yes. I don't make the terms, they do. They called it an anime game. It is indeed an anime game. Anti-air. Hitting someone who's jumping at you while you are on the ground. No. There are no anti-airs in this game. You can fuck right off with trying to find one of those. Anywhere juggles. A property for some of the King of Fighter games where they let you bypass the normal juggle limit and always hit no matter what. Originally programming a quirk of some moves to improve reliability in weird juggle cases is now a design choice with balanced consideration It even works in flip-out situations such as anti-airing with a certain normal attack. Anywhere juggles. Something to help you exceed juggle limits in the combo better. I don't think so, right? I don't think there's anything to help you exceed juggle limits in a hard game. So I'm gonna say no. Could be a lack of knowledge, but I'm gonna say no. Archetype. This one's long. The Melty Blood term for a super, often abbreviated as AD. What the heck? Your arc drive costs 3 bars of super meter, and they all have the same input, so it's just a super, but it's a special kind of super. They can be used anytime you like, including canceling from normal specials, but that's a lot. And it will drain and reset your guard. Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and say this, yeah. From the first fucking paragraph, this is a yes, but let's see if anything gets more specific. In Melty Blood, you can't do an arc drive until you fill your guard full. These go into game specifics, right? These will animate your, okay. It's a yes. The first paragraph is the one that actually technically matters, but it's indeed a yes. It's a super, has a meter, you cash it out, you can cancel it out of everything essentially. That's ultimate in this game. Arcade stick, a common controller. Oh, guys, no. Like, arcade stick is outside of game relation, but it is inside the glossary, so it is a no. Nobody uses arcade stick for this game. If somebody did, then I would have put it here. But hey, archetype. A way to categorize the character's general playstyle. Of course, there are archetypes. Alright. Moving on. Arena Fighter. A style of fighting game where the action takes place in large 3D areas and the camera is focused behind your back. Like a more traditional 3D video game, arena fighters tend to be based on anime IPs, since they employ extreme movements and powerful long-range attacks and subjects commonly mocked. Examples are DBZ Sparking Zero, Jump Force, Kill la Kill. If this is an arena fighter, technically, right? A 3D arena, the camera is focused behind your back with the more traditional 3D video game. That part is not true, right? Because the camera is free rotative. You can just turn it and move it. If you're locked on, it's definitely like face behind your back. But for the most part, what you're facing towards your opponent isn't an arena fighter. I hate to say it, but just on basic like classifications, it is, right? It might seem like I'm being extra generous, but I kind of feel like I'm being nitpicky if I say it's not, right? There are arenas. It's 3D environment. When you're locked on, it's an arena fighter. Same almost goes for a Dragon Ball Z. The only thing is the camera position isn't locked, right? That's the only thing that makes them different. But other than that, that's so small in the grand scheme of how much stuff is, paralleled. All right, armor. A state where a character absorbs, yes, armor exists, and it is sometimes the bane of my existence. Armor. All right, I think this tally is getting kind of interesting. All right, it's getting kind of interesting. Armor break. Breaking through armor or moves they can break through armor. Yeah, exists. Let's move on. Oh, yeah, of course they're not specific. It is collecting quite a number of these general ones. Oh, armor break. You guys know what armor is. It's the ability to power through attacks, right? If you don't know what armor is, I'm sorry for actually skipping over this stuff. I'm acting like it's general knowledge. Armor actually might not be. It should be, clearly, but it's a strike or motion or attack that can typically tank through their attacks in order to continue going. Some characters come with armor, like built into almost all their strikes. And some have armor on only specific strikes. Some games come with a built-in armor strike mechanic, right? A strike that's going to have armor, like Street Fighter 6. Tons of different ways that armor is used. Does it exist in ZZZ? It very much does. Tons of different ways, right? Armor do that, bam, bam, bam. Are there ways to break armor? Yes. An attack that's specifically done go through armor. There are tons of different ways to get through armor. Look towards your closest set. Assault. Under Night and Birth. Okay. A short hop towards your opponent input with the forward dash is pretty reminiscent of King of Fighters short hop. a hyper short hop, although it can be. So a short hop motion based on a move, I don't think so. That would be no. There is no, like, of course you have a dash. Wait a minute. But it doesn't specifically say that it's a dash. Although it can be done in the air, grounded assaults will always try to land right in front of the opponent. Okay, up to a maximum distance. So if you do it from point blank range, you're basically just hop straight up, right? You do a short hop and you get closer towards your opponent. If it was used more on the ground, right? There's some times when it's used pretty close to the ground like that. If it was used more entirely on the ground, I would chalk to being similar to the dash, which is just simply a dash. But assault seems to be very much a hop related trait, which is what makes it unique, right? A hop, which we do not have, especially tied to our dashes. Still, does not exist. This may be an extra point, but I'm pretty sure it's not. Assist, yes, exists. Boom, boom, boom. Moving on. If you don't understand the concept of an assist, it's when you press a button, your off-field character comes in and assists. We don't need to read the paragraphs. Alright, anyways, Astral Heat, a special super attack in Blaze Blue that instantly kills the opponent. Oh, okay. Insta-kill, that's a hell no. That would be cool though. Attack cancel, Smash Bros. Ultimate technique where you Kara cancel. Ooh, scary. You card cancel the startup of any grounded attack into a jump attack. For dash attacks specifically, you can do a jump or a grab. These cancels aren't often used for added range, like card cancels in other games, but rather holy bonus. It is a Smash Bros. Ultimate technique only, where you card cancel. What's a card cancel? Let's take a look. The ability to very quickly cancel a move into another move before the first move even completes its startup and animations. Normally, in order to cancel a move, you'll have to make contact with your opponent, but card cancel bypasses that restriction and cancels immediately, often before you even see your first move on the screen. The reason you want to do this is to add range. Yeah, these exist. Yeah. You can card cancel, but we're not judging card cancel right now, right? Card cancel 100% exists, but when you card cancel the startup of any grounded attack, so a card cancel is a cancel of a animation before it's even finished or even finished starting up of a grounded attack into a jump attack, into a jump or dash attack. You can do a jump or a grab. These cancels often used for added range like card cancels in other games, but rather they tend to be used to give you more control over your momentum. An attack, oh, I know what an attack cancel is. You do not need to, you do not need to actually dodge. So, you can just like jump and you're canceling the old attack, but you can do a throw and you'll cancel the other attack, right? He does a dash attack here and then cancels it into a throw. Canceling into throw allows you to maneuver differently within the air, right? For these guys. Or maneuver differently on the ground as well, right? To gain more distance on your reach. Alright, I would say yes. Most of these examples seem to be jumps, but this right here, this is where it becomes a yes, right? With Little Mac. Little Mac comes here, he does a dash attack, and then he cancels it into a grab, right? You can definitely do a dash attack for some distance gains or an EX for a distance gain and then cancel it into a special, or a dash attack and cancel it into an EX. Those things exist, so this concept exists, surprisingly enough. Attack cancels, they are in there, and it seems like we have a little bit of a preview on what card cancel will actually be. And yes, it will be a yes. All right, auction tournament. What auction tournament? A special time is tournament where character names or teams are pulled from a hat at one time. Players engage in real-time auction spots. So this is talking about a more in-game thing. This is an auction, not specifically a draft. I've seen draft games, I don't know if I've seen an auction game. Real-time auctions on the spot, putting up real money for the rights to buy the characters and then use them in the event. Oh, and they're talking real money. Yeah, no. Haven't seen anything like this. So that's a no-go on the auction tournaments. Whoever wants to host something like that, I'm down to see what happens. Auto combo. When a game lets you perform several simple button presses, often the same button, and then it automatically generates a combo. Or we're not going to give this game auto combo specifically because yes, there is a simple string attached to the attack button that you just press and you do the simple string and it does the attack. But that's most people's basic string, and then there's ways to go about it from there. There's no like auto combo is very specific in which it will string together a bunch of attacks that are within your arsenal, but without actually using those attacks, all just by pressing the same button. It's not the same concept. So, since the concept is quite different, that is a no. No auto combos. Auto shimmy, a string in Mortal Kombat that is good at baiting throw attacks from the defender because one of the latter hits kind of looks like a startup to a throw. This makes tick throws pretty hard to defend against because all you have to do is mix up between doing the full string or doing the first hit, for example, then stopping and throwing it. Since both look alike, it'll be really hard to react. Which option is coming? You're probably going to get hit. Alright, so it's a couple of different, like, two actions that are similar to one another, and being able to use them and functions as an auto shimmy and auto mix up because those two actions exist now. I don't even know why I was reading it. Once I read mix up, I should have just said now. Mixing up your opponent is a very hard thing to find in ZZZ. Auto cancel. Automatically skipping the landing recovery of an aerial attack entirely as long as you land on the ground during a specific time during the aerial. Very similar to L canceling. Auto cancel is to shorten the recovery of things. I do remember this. No, it's a very specific terminology and it's not really used. There's no like coming down from an aerial strike and trying to use a certain strike while getting close to the ground to get advantage. It's not in there. Auto correct. An input technique for performing a special move, but usually a dragon punch in the opposite direction, and immediately as your opponent jumps over your head, the idea auto corrects. No, there are no directional specific things that are messed up because of things, but we have an auto correct feature. None of that exists. Tally is looking quite interesting, right? The A tally is looking quite interesting. Auto double. There's going to be a lot of autos, right? A 2-hit normal attack during a killer instant combo. After an opener is performed, you can simply press a single button and get 2 strikes. Yes, your auto doubles exist. Alright, and that's a 0.25, right? It's not too many extra points, but there's a few of them in there. Autopilot. Without attacking, thinking, usually, this refers to the player. Usually you use it to describe a beginner situation where they constantly do the same thing by force of habit. People being on autopilot. This is the fighting game glossary. We will be pointing each one, so if it exists as a concept in ZZZ, yes. Because if the point's going to go somewhere, it needs to go somewhere. And if we're going to say they don't get a point because there are no real life auction gaming, then they do get a point because there are real life players who will be on autopilot. Alright, so auto-timed. Setup, usually after a knockdown, that is extremely easy to perform because of, yes, auto-timed setups exist. You fucking do an alt with lighter, and it gives you just enough time to perform an EX. The disadvantage frames your opponents in gives you just enough time to chain together an EX on it. Yeah, it's like a setup. It's a perfect setup that leads to other actions that you can take as soon as possible when you're taking out of your action, and they will connect. There's no delays, no guesswork, no timing needed. There is no timing needed. You press halt and you just spam EX, you're gonna get that baby. Stuff like that exists for Yishuan too, right? Where you press her ultimate, you come down, you have just the perfect amount of time and frame and stagger right after that energy ultimate to hold down her dash attack and get it swept up. There are auto setups everywhere in this game, a lot of them, but look at that, bang bang, and because you do that during its timing, it's perfect. And just by doing the act at the right time, right? Just doing the act right after the act, it jumps up and it is a advantage situation. Yeah, it exists. Auto setups exist. Whoa! We're at the bottom. We're at the bottom. Took us about an hour. We made it through. All right. This is the final one. Awakening. A power up state your character can enter when they are low on health in both Persona and Ultimate D and in DF Duel. Your character will get a huge defense buff and extra super meters. Properties will change. New supers that you can use your meter on. In DNF Duel, your characters obviously it's not there. We don't have anything like this, especially one that's activated due to the low health of your character. But even still, if we weren't taking in lower health, if we were just considering an awakening state like it was Super Saiyan, no. We don't have anything like that that I know of, right? Nobody has an install. Like Anton technically, but not an install. It is an install. Considering they're saying low health, we're gonna say that. No, 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 no. Right. We're gonna take the definition that they put in here and not general terminology. Oh man, my freaking hair. Alright. That's it, y'all. That is the A's. Okay. So I will tally this up on my own and you guys will be seeing the score right here. But I can already guess based off the general size of this. It seems that it's almost about even. My imagination is that there's either one or two on either side that's more or less. So I actually don't know which one wins out because they're so close together. But you guys do. And I will tell you right now, since it's around the halfway mark, I'm gonna say it graded poorly, right? Like it could have hit more of these in my personal opinion, but due to the number of turns it actually did hit, I think it hit quite some surprising ones, right? Like aerial attacks and airborne states, those kind of things. Those are surprising things that are here. I really didn't know the exact definition of Kara cancel or attack cancel, but it is funny to find out they are indeed very simply easy things to find in this game. I'm sure they're in other games too, but they're definitely in this game. Alright, that's the entire list. I think this was fun. I look forward to doing B. I will probably get to it maybe within the next week, hopefully. Let me know if this was something that you found fun. If so, I look forward to doing it again. If not, I don't know how the heck you got all the way through this to the end to even answer that question. But sorry. Alright, that's it. I actually have fun. Like, comment, and subscribe. Right, that kind of stuff too. I forget. Am I supposed to say that? I'm not a content creator, but considering we got another like 20 something of these on our list, though some of these are going to be pretty dang short. But considering we got another 20 something of these on our list, I guess for these next 20 videos, I should be saying that. So, sorry. Like, comment, and subscribe. See you guys later.